Hey, what's up guys, your boy Keys. Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be talking about The Penguin and why you need to watch it, okay? And in fact, if I'm being honest with you, I think after you finish this video, you need to just go ahead and cut it on. Even if you got to go pay for HBO Max, listen, this is one of those shows that it's just worth it. It truly is just worth it. And I'm going to talk about exactly why. Now, this is going to be completely spoiler free, so don't worry, I'm not going to get into any, hard evidence as to why. I'm just going to talk about the generalities of the show and why I think this show could potentially be one of the top contenders. Now, obviously, we're only 4 episodes in, okay, so, it's a bold statement. Maybe the next 4 are going to flop, but with the track record that I've gotten so far, I don't think that's going to be the case. But let's go ahead and talk exactly about why you should be watching The Penguin right now. Now, first and foremost, this show obviously takes place right after Matt Reeves' The Batman. All right, if you haven't seen that film, that was a very solid Batman film. Okay, I was very impressed by Robert Pattinson's performance as Batman, and also Matt Reeves, just his ability to direct in general, and the actual plot of the story itself. It felt like a genuinely good coming to age Batman story. Now, that being said, again, this takes place right after the end point. So if you haven't seen The Batman, again, I'm not going to really spoil too much about what happens in the in the movie, but I might say something here or there that it's not going to be like a major plot point that's going to like spoil and ruin the experience, but it might be something here and there that is relevant again to The Batman. Now, that being said, again, there are only 4 episodes so far, but let me tell you right now, watching episode 1, the first 15 minutes, hooked, right? They had me like this. I was a fish on a hook, just being dragged along, okay? I promise you. You get into the story. Again, I'm not going to say exactly what happens, but there is a sequence of events that happens again in the first 15 minutes that just sets the tone for the rest of the show, okay? The thing that happens in the first 15 minutes, it basically sets in motion everything else, because once this thing happened, problems, okay? Now, the reason why I think, again, it works so well is because of the fact that not only is the writing amazing, but the acting is also just so captivating, all right? The highlights of the show, for me personally, are both Colin Farrell, who plays the Penguin. Obviously, he's the main character. And then Sophia Carmine. I forgot what the actress's name is, but those two, for me, they steal the show. They are one of the they are some greatly written characters. And you can tell that, like, again, the way that Colin Farrell plays in the Penguin, it's like he is a prideful, slimy, but also somewhat insecure man who is trying his best to rise up at any cost possible. Now, he has some level of morals, and that's how you get his interactions with another character called Vic, who I'm not going to get too deep into the actual plot lines, but you can see that the Penguin, again, he will do whatever it takes to get to where he wants to get to, but he does have some morals about him. The thing about it is that based on his upbringing, based on who he is as a person and how the world has treated him, you can tell that affects how he treats others, all right? So case in point, again, I'm not going to get into specifics of like, what situation happened when, but there are times when the Penguin, based on like how people have treated him and how they look down on him, is how he'll treat people who are under him, right? And it's very interesting because the thing about the Penguin is that, in the Batman storyline, the Penguin is already a villain that, like, he has already had everything. He's set up, he's obviously has his lounge, he obviously is already running his own criminal organization. He is established, right, in Batman, in the normal comics in Batman, right? But this right here, again, is almost a coming to age story for the Penguin. So we get to see, where he started with, again, how people are treating him, how people make fun of him, and then we get to see why he ended up becoming such a powerhouse. And again, it's just because he's a schemer, okay? And that kind of goes into one of the big things about the writing that I love about the show, is that the writing is very smart, okay? Characters in this show, obviously, you know, they came, the people who designed the actual or wrote the show, they had a very good understanding of who their characters are and how they would interact and react in certain situations. And I think that's like a big thing when it comes to writing, is whenever you have fleshed out your character so much in your own head or on a board or storyboard that you don't even necessarily need to fully write out the scenes, because the scenes write themselves out based on how the characters are as people. All right? Now, for example, One Piece, I know we're jumping around. One Piece, right? I believe there was a time when someone asked Oda about how he writes Luffy, and the thing is that he says sometimes he doesn't even necessarily need to, you know, write Luffy in a way or think about what Luffy's going to do, because he knows what he's going to do. Luffy's going to be the type of person who's going to run out and then cause mayhem, all right? And he's going to go out and he's going to say exactly what he's thinking. That's why he doesn't need to have, you know, you don't need to have thought bubbles for Luffy, because generally speaking, he's just going to say what he feels, all right? He's going to do what he feels. And so it makes it easy to write certain plot lines, because I already know this is how Luffy's going to operate, right? Again, same thing here. The thing that is really interesting, though, is that because Oswald is, again, the Penguin is a very slimy character at times, we already know how he's going to operate, and so it makes it like there are certain plot points that sometimes you would think would be what's the word? It would seem like they're contrived, but based on this character, how their dynamic is with this character and how they operate, it makes sense why things are falling into place. All right, it doesn't feel contrived, because even though you can look at certain like moments and you can be like, okay, this is obviously a plot point, this is obviously a plot device to move the story forward, but it doesn't feel like a plot device, because this is just who the character is, where the character is at. Now, I talked a lot about, you know, the Penguin, but like I said before, Sophia Carmine, especially after this last episode, oh my God, you see exactly why she operates the way that she does as well. All right? And again, it's just based on how the character is written. And there's a third character, as I said before, Vic, who's played by, what is his name? Renzi, I believe. Renzi Feliz. He is also a very interesting character. And the thing that I like about these three characters in general is that all three of them have some sort of ailment or some sort of like deficiency on their character, whether it's physical or it's like mental, right? Or social even, that causes them in a way to kind of relate to one another. Not necessarily in the sense that like they're all gonna be, you know, best buds, but you get a sense that these three characters are the main characters because, again, they are all trying to navigate in a world that already in a way looks down on them because of their ailment, and they're trying to figure out how to rise above it all in their own unique ways. Okay? And so, again, I'm not going to get into specifics of how they do so, but I will say a generalization. Oz is a very slimy person who gets through by being slimy. He is a person who will, when an opportunity arises, he'll captivate on it, or he'll take charge on it, all right? He is not one to second guess a switch up, okay? With Carmine, Sophia Carmine, she's a little different. She's not slimy from what we see. She is a person who will take charge, and while she will also capitalize on opportunities, she is a very smart individual who is very perceptive. And so she uses her intellect, all right? She scopes out a situation, she sits back, ponders on the situation and goes, I know how I can use this to my advantage. So that's her. It's not really slimy. It's just she's very, very, again, I had that word a second ago, but she knows how to play her cards. She can see the chessboard and say, okay, let me go ahead, take this step back. Okay, I'm peeping this. And again, she is a person who can read people like a book at times. Now, she obviously has her own issue. I'm not going to get into what her issues are. And I'm not saying they're issues as in there are character flaws in the sense that it's bad writing. I'm saying character flaws that makes her character even better. Because one of them being that even though she is a person that is very perceptive, all right, she is also a person who, because of all the things that she went through, is not super trusting, but when she gets to a point where she feels like she can trust you, she can be a little too trusting, right? So that's one thing that I've noticed as well. But again, I don't want to dive too deep into like talking about what goes on the show. I just want to say, again, the show itself is very, very well written, and I think it's worth you guys' time just to check it out. Again, it's only 4 episodes out so far, but in terms of, again, the writing, in terms of the character, all right, and the way that they write the characters, the acting itself, all right, cinematography as well, it is shaping up to be, again, a top contender show. And because of all of this because of the character dynamics, because of the writing, because of the way things are filmed, and again, the way the story is shaped up, this is looking like, again, it could be a very good top contender, all right? And it's leading towards the next Batman film. And if I'm being honest right now, I'm actually now even more excited for the Batman Part 2, all right? So, again, I think you guys should really go check this show out. It's very, very well written. It's kind of in the same lane as like a Snowfall to me, at least. When I say that, I mean as though, again, the thing about Snowfall that I really enjoyed, especially in the earlier seasons, again, was that the characters knew exactly who they were. We knew who the characters were, or at least the writers who made the show knew who the characters were, and they were able to utilize that when writing out the scripts, writing out how the scenes would play out, and it led to making the show feel organic. Things in this show feel organic, like things are a natural progression, and they happen this way because of the fact of how the characters are, where they're at in that moment, and, you know, how they would interact with the world. But that's my 2 cents on the show. Again, I think you guys should go ahead and just, check it out. I think it's definitely worth you guys' time, and hopefully, all right, the show sticks to landing. Because, again, right now, it's only been getting better and better. But obviously, we don't know. We're only halfway through the season. I think they're going to do it, though. I think they're going to stick to landing. So definitely go check it out. Anyways, I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.